In the remote village of Kalagati, where the orange earth stretched endlessly under the scorching sun and poverty knocked on every door, lived a young woman named Amara. She was 23 years old, but her spirit carried the scars of 1,000 battles. When she was just 8 years old, her parents died in a terrible accident, leaving her orphaned and alone in this cruel world. That's when Chief Bongani took her in, not out of love but out of duty. The village elders had pressured him to care for the orphan child, and reluctantly, he brought her to his home. But Amara's real nightmare began when Chief Bongani married Namsa, a woman with a heart as cold as winter rain. From the moment Namsa entered that house, Amara's life became a living hell. Every morning before the rooster crowed, Namsa would wake her with harsh words and kicks. "Get up, you worthless girl. The goats need water, the fields need tending, and my breakfast better be ready before I finish my prayers." Amara would stumble out of her thin mat on the kitchen floor, her young body aching from sleeping on the hard ground. While Chief Bongani's biological children slept in comfortable beds with warm blankets, Amara shivered through cold nights with only a torn cloth to cover herself. "You eat only after everyone else has finished," Namsa would declare daily. "And if there's nothing left, then you fast. Maybe God will teach you gratitude through hunger." The other villagers whispered among themselves as they watched Amara's suffering. They saw how she carried heavy water pots for miles, how she worked in the scorching sun without rest, how her clothes were always dirty and torn while the other children played freely. But nobody dared to speak up against Chief Bongani's household. He was powerful, respected, and feared. Challenging him meant risking your own family's safety. "That poor child," the women would murmur as they watched Amara struggle with loads too heavy for her frame. "She's nothing but a slave in that house." Years passed, and Amara grew into a beautiful young woman despite her circumstances. Her beauty was not just physical. There was something pure and unbroken in her spirit that suffering couldn't destroy. She had learned to find joy in small things: a bird's song at dawn, the smell of rain on dry earth, the grateful look of a goat she had cared for. But Namsa's jealousy only grew stronger. "Look at her," she would hiss to her husband. "Getting more beautiful every day while my own daughters remain unmarried. She's cursed, I tell you. She's bringing bad luck to our family." Chief Bongani, tired of his wife's constant complaints and looking for any excuse to remove Amara from his responsibilities, began to see her as a burden he needed to shed. Then came Marcus, a young man from the neighboring village who worked as a livestock trader. He had been buying cattle from Chief Bongani's ranch for several months, traveling the dusty roads with his old bicycle and worn leather bag. Marcus wasn't wealthy. His clothes were patched, his shoes were cracked, and he lived day by day on the small profits from his trading. But Marcus had something rare in those parts: integrity. He always paid his debts, kept his promises, and treated everyone with respect, regardless of their social status. He had noticed Amara during his visits, how she worked tirelessly, how she never complained, how she showed kindness to the animals even when no one was watching. One sweltering afternoon, Marcus arrived at Chief Bongani's compound with payment for the cattle he had purchased. He had traveled for 2 days to bring the money, sleeping under trees and eating only bread and water. When he knocked on the door, Chief Bongani welcomed him with his usual business smile. "Marcus, my friend, you've come at the right time. Let's finalize this deal." They sat under the large baobab tree in the compound center, counting money and discussing future transactions. Amara served them traditional beer and dried meat, her eyes downcast as always. Marcus noticed how thin she had become, how her hands trembled slightly as she placed the tray down. "Thank you," he said gently, looking directly at her. It was the first time in years someone had looked at her with kindness instead of contempt. Amara's heart skipped a beat, but she quickly disappeared back into the house. After they finished their business, Marcus prepared to leave. But as he reached for his leather bag, he discovered it was lighter than expected. He opened it frantically, checking every corner. "Sir, I'm sorry," he said, his voice filled with panic. "I'm short by 500 rand. I must have miscounted or maybe I lost some on the road." Chief Bongani's face darkened like a storm cloud. "What do you mean you're short? We had an agreement, Marcus. Please, sir, give me 1 week. I'll sell my goats, I'll work extra jobs, I'll get you the money. I promise on my mother's grave." Chief Bongani stood up, his massive frame towering over Marcus. "Promises don't pay debts, boy. You've wasted my time, eaten my food, And now you want to leave without paying? Sir, please? I don't want to hear it. Chief Bangani's voice boomed across the compound. You know what? I have a better idea. He looked around the compound and his eyes fell on Amara, who was hanging laundry on a line nearby. A cruel smile spread across his face. Take her, he said, pointing at Amara. Take that girl. She'll work for you, cook for you, clean for you. Consider it payment for the 500 rand you owe me. Marcus was stunned. Sir, I don't understand. You want me to take a person as payment? She's not just any person, Chief Bangani said with a wave of his hand. She's an orphan I've been feeding for 15 years. She's strong, she can work, and she's already accustomed to serving. Take her to the city, marry her if you want, or use her as a housekeeper. I don't care. Just consider my debt paid. Amara dropped the wet clothes she was holding. Her heart stopped beating for a moment. She looked at Chief Bangani, the man who had reluctantly sheltered her, now giving her away like a sack of maize. Please, Papa, she whispered, using the title he had forbidden her to use. Please don't do this. I'll work harder, I'll eat less, I'll... Shut up. Namsa appeared from the house, her face gleaming with satisfaction. You should be grateful someone wants you. Look at you. What family would pay bride price for a girl with nothing? Amara fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. Please, I've served this family faithfully for 15 years. I've never disobeyed, never complained, never asked for anything. And now it's time for you to serve someone else, Chief Bangani said coldly. Marcus, what do you say? She's clean, she's hardworking, and she's still young enough to bear children. Marcus looked at Amara, then at Chief Bangani, then back at Amara. His heart was racing. He had never thought about marriage, never imagined acquiring a wife through debt payment. But something in Amara's eyes moved him. Not just her beauty, but her dignity even in this humiliating moment. I'll take her, he said quietly. Chief Bangani clapped his hands together. Excellent. Namsa, pack her things. Marcus, you can leave with her today. Amara's entire world crumbled. She had always dreamed of leaving this house, but not like this. Not as payment for a debt, not as an unwanted burden passed from one man to another. She stumbled to her small corner of the kitchen and packed her few belongings into a plastic bag. 2 faded dresses, a pair of worn shoes, and a small wooden cross her mother had given her before she died. No one hugged her goodbye. No one blessed her journey. Chief Bangani's biological children watched from the windows, some feeling sorry for her but too scared to speak up. Only the old family dog followed her to the gate, whimpering as if understanding that something terrible was happening. Don't come back, Namsa called out as Amara walked away. This chapter of your life is closed forever. Marcus walked silently beside her, pushing his bicycle loaded with trading goods. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. They walked for miles without speaking, the only sounds being their footsteps on the dusty road and the distant calls of evening birds. Finally, when they reached the bus station in the neighboring town, Marcus spoke. Are you okay? Amara looked at him through her tears. I don't know, she whispered. I don't know anything anymore. Marcus bought 2 tickets to Johannesburg, spending the last of his money. As they waited for the bus, he sat beside her on the wooden bench. I want you to know, he said gently, I didn't plan this. I never intended to acquire a wife through debt. But now that it's happened, I promise you this, I will never hurt you. I will never treat you like property. When we get to the city, we'll figure out how to build a life together, but only if you want to. Amara looked at him, surprised by his gentle tone. What if I don't want to? Then I'll help you find another way. I'll help you get a job, find a place to stay, maybe even contact distant relatives if you have any. You're not my prisoner, Amara. You're my responsibility now, and I take that seriously. For the first time in 15 years, Amara felt something she had almost forgotten. Hope? The bus journey to Johannesburg took 8 hours. They passed through small towns, rolling hills, and vast open spaces. Amara sat by the window, watching the landscape change from rural to urban, from familiar to completely foreign. Marcus dozed in the seat beside her, occasionally waking to check if she needed anything. As the city lights began to appear on the horizon, Amara's heart filled with both excitement and terror. She had never seen buildings taller than 2 stories, never seen cars moving in such numbers, never imagined that so many people could live in one place. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Marcus opened his eyes and looked out the window. "Yes, it is. And it's full of opportunities for people willing to work hard." When they finally arrived at the central bus station, Amara was overwhelmed by the noise, the crowds, the bright lights, and the fast pace of everything. She stayed close to Marcus as he guided her through the chaos. They took a taxi to the outskirts of the city, where the buildings were smaller and the streets were quieter. The taxi stopped in front of a modest apartment building painted in faded blue. "This is where I live," Marcus said, helping her out of the taxi. "It's not much, but it's clean and safe." They climbed 2 flights of stairs to a small apartment with 1 bedroom, a tiny kitchen, and a living room with a single couch. It was simple, but to Amara, it felt like a palace. There were no harsh voices, no impossible tasks waiting for her, no one ready to kick her awake before dawn. "You can sleep in the bedroom," Marcus said, setting down her plastic bag. "I'll take the couch." "No," Amara said quickly. "I can't take your bed. I'm used to sleeping on the floor." Marcus looked at her with sad eyes. "Amara, you're not a servant here. You're my wife now, according to the arrangement that was made. And in my house, my wife sleeps in the bed." That night, Amara lay in a real bed for the first time in 15 years. The mattress was soft, the sheets were clean, and there was a pillow for her head. She cried herself to sleep, not from sadness but from overwhelming relief. The next morning, Marcus woke early and prepared breakfast. The smell of eggs and bread filled the small apartment. Amara emerged from the bedroom, expecting to find a list of chores waiting for her. "Good morning," Marcus said with a smile. "I made breakfast. Come, let's eat together." "Together?" Amara asked, confused. "Yes, together. In this house, we eat together, we make decisions together, and we face challenges together." As they ate, Marcus explained his situation. "I've been working as a livestock trader for 3 years, but it's not enough to build a real future. I've been saving money to start a small business, maybe a shop or a restaurant. I believe in working hard and dreaming big." Amara listened, amazed by his optimism. "What about me? What will I do?" "Whatever you want," Marcus said. "You can work, you can study, you can start your own business. The choice is yours. But first, let's get you some new clothes and help you adjust to city life." Over the following weeks, Amara began to discover who she really was beneath years of abuse and suppression. Marcus took her shopping for new clothes, helped her open a bank account, and even enrolled her in evening classes to improve her English and mathematics. "I can't afford all this," she protested one day as he paid for her textbooks. "Investment in education is never wasted," Marcus replied. "Besides, when you succeed, we both succeed. We're a team now." Slowly, Amara began to bloom. She found a job at a local restaurant, where her natural cooking skills and work ethic quickly impressed the owner. She started earning her own money, something she had never experienced in her life. But more importantly, she began to trust Marcus. He never raised his voice at her, never demanded anything unreasonable, never treated her like property. He consulted her on decisions, asked for her opinions, and celebrated her small victories. One evening, as they sat on their small balcony watching the sunset, Amara turned to Marcus. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what?" "For seeing me as a person. For the first time in my life, I feel like I matter." Marcus took her hand gently. "You've always mattered, Amara. The problem was that you were surrounded by people who were too blind to see your worth." That night, for the first time, Amara kissed Marcus. It wasn't passionate or desperate. It was grateful, tentative, and full of growing love. 6 months after arriving in the city, their life had found a comfortable rhythm. Marcus had saved enough money to open a small grocery store, and Amara had been promoted to assistant manager at the restaurant. They were building something beautiful together, but their peaceful life was about to be tested. One Saturday morning, as Amara was cleaning the apartment, there was a knock at the door. She opened it to find a tall, handsome man in an expensive suit standing in the hallway. "You must be Amara," he said with a charming smile. "I'm David, Marcus's business partner. I've heard so much about you." Amara was confused. Marcus had never mentioned a business partner named David. "I'm sorry, but Marcus isn't here right now. He's at the store." "Actually, I came to see you," David said, stepping closer. "Can I come in?" I have something important to discuss with you." Against her better judgment, Amara let him in. David walked around the small apartment, his eyes taking in every detail. "Nice place," he said, though his tone suggested he found it lacking. "But you deserve so much better than this." "I'm sorry, but I don't understand. Who are you exactly?" David sat down on the couch and gestured for her to sit across from him. "I'm someone who can change your life, Amara. I'm a successful businessman and I've been watching you." Amara's heart began to race. "Watching me? I know your story. I know where you came from, what you've been through. I know Marcus brought you here as payment for a debt." David leaned forward. "But I also know you're too special to waste your life in this modest situation." "I'm not wasting anything," Amara said firmly. "I'm building a life with my husband." David laughed. "Husband? Is that what you call this arrangement? Amara, you're beautiful, intelligent, and hardworking. You could have any man you want. Why settle for a struggling shopkeeper when you could have a millionaire?" "Because I love him," Amara said without hesitation. "Love doesn't pay bills," David replied. "Love doesn't buy you a house, a car, or send you to university. I can give you all of that and more." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick envelope. "There's 50,000 rand in here. Take it. Come with me. I'll buy you a house in the suburbs, enroll you in the best university, give you a life of luxury. All you have to do is leave this poverty behind." Amara stared at the money, her mind racing. 50,000 rand was more money than she had ever seen in her life. It was enough to change everything, to give her the education she dreamed of, the security she craved. "Marcus will understand," David continued. "He's a good man, but he can't give you what I can. This is your chance to have everything you've ever wanted." For a moment, Amara was tempted. The money represented freedom, opportunity, a completely different life. But then she remembered Marcus's gentle hands, his patient teaching, his unwavering respect for her dignity. "No," she said firmly, standing up. "I don't want your money." David looked shocked. "Amara, be reasonable. Think about your future." "I am thinking about my future," she replied. "And it's with Marcus. He may not have much money, but he has something more valuable. He has love, respect, and integrity. That's worth more than all your money." David's charming mask slipped, revealing frustration and arrogance. "You're making a mistake, Amara. Big mistake. When you're still struggling in this tiny apartment 5 years from now, remember that I offered you a way out. And when I'm happy and fulfilled 5 years from now, I'll remember that I chose love over money," Amara replied. David left, slamming the door behind him. Amara sat on the couch, her hands shaking slightly. She had just turned down more money than she had ever dreamed of, and she felt proud. When Marcus returned that evening, Amara told him about David's visit. Marcus listened quietly, his expression growing increasingly concerned. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "I should have warned you about him." "Warn me about what? Who is he really?" Marcus took her hands and looked into her eyes. "Amara, there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you months ago." Amara's heart began to race. "What is it?" "David isn't just a business partner. He's my brother." "Your brother?" Marcus nodded. "And our grocery store isn't just a small business. It's part of a much larger operation. Amara, my family owns a chain of supermarkets across 3 provinces. We're not poor, Amara. We're actually quite wealthy." Amara stared at him, trying to process this information. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that I've been lying to you about who I am. My real name isn't just Marcus, it's Marcus Mthembu. My family owns Mthembu Enterprises. We're worth several million rand." Amara pulled her hands away from his. "You lied to me? All this time you've been lying?" "Yes," Marcus said quietly. "And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "Why?" Amara asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Why would you lie about something like that?" Marcus stood up and walked to the window. "Because I've been hurt before, Amara. I've had women pretend to love me when they really only wanted my money. I've been used, manipulated, and discarded more times than I can count." He turned back to her. "When I met you, when I saw how you were being treated, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, genuine compassion. But I was scared. Scared that if you knew who I really was, You would only stay with me for my money. So you decided to test me? I decided to let you know the real me. The man I am when I'm not surrounded by wealth and luxury. I wanted to see if you could love me for who I am, not what I have. Amara was silent for a long moment. And David's visit today? Was his idea of helping me. He thought he was testing your loyalty, but he was really just trying to prove that all women are the same, that given enough money, anyone can be bought. And what did my answer prove? Marcus walked back to her and knelt down beside her chair. It proved that you're the most amazing woman I've ever met. It proved that you chose love over money, loyalty over luxury, integrity over instant gratification. It proved that everything I hoped about you was true. Amara looked at him, her emotions swirling between hurt and understanding. I'm still angry that you lied to me. You have every right to be angry, Marcus said. I handled this all wrong. I should have trusted you with the truth from the beginning. Yes, you should have, Amara agreed. But I also understand why you didn't. You were protecting your heart the same way I was protecting mine. Marcus reached for her hands again. Can you forgive me? Amara looked into his eyes and saw the same gentle, caring man who had shown her kindness when the world had shown her cruelty. I can forgive you, she said. But no more lies. Ever. No more lies, Marcus promised. From now on, complete honesty. Good, Amara said, a small smile appearing on her face. Because I have something to tell you too. What? I'm pregnant. Marcus's eyes widened in shock and joy. Are you serious? Completely serious. I found out yesterday. Marcus jumped up and spun her around carefully. This is incredible. We're going to be parents. Yes, Amara laughed, her anger melting away in the face of their shared joy. We're going to be parents. That night, as they lay in bed, Marcus showed Amara pictures of his real life. The family mansion, the business empire, the life of luxury that was now hers if she wanted it. We don't have to move, he said. If you're happy here, we can stay here. Money doesn't have to change anything. But it will change things, Amara said. And that's okay. I'm not afraid of wealth, Marcus. I'm afraid of losing myself in wealth. I'm afraid of becoming someone I don't recognize. That will never happen, Marcus assured her. You're too strong, too grounded, too real to lose yourself in anything. 6 months later, Amara gave birth to a healthy baby girl they named Hope. The delivery took place in the finest private hospital in Johannesburg, with the best doctors and nurses money could buy. But what mattered most to Amara wasn't the luxury of her surroundings. It was the look of pure love on Marcus's face as he held their daughter for the first time. She's perfect, he whispered, tears in his eyes. Just like her mother. They moved to a beautiful house in the suburbs, but Amara insisted on keeping it warm and welcoming rather than cold and ostentatious. She continued working, eventually opening her own restaurant that specialized in traditional African cuisine. Marcus supported her every step of the way, never once suggesting that she didn't need to work because of his wealth. Everyone needs purpose, he would say. Money can buy comfort, but it can't buy fulfillment. That has to come from within. Amara used her success to help other women in situations similar to her own. She established a foundation that provided shelter, education, and job training for abused and abandoned women. She never forgot where she came from, never forgot the pain of being unwanted and unloved. One day, 5 years after leaving Chief Bangani's house, Amara received a phone call from her old village. Chief Bangani was on the line, his voice humble and pleading. Amara, my child, I've heard about your success. I'm so proud of you. I always knew you were special. Did you? Amara asked calmly. Because I remember you giving me away like a bag of grain. I made mistakes. I was under pressure from my wife, from circumstances. But I never meant to hurt you. But you did hurt me, Amara said. You hurt me deeply. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm calling because things are difficult here. The drought has been terrible and we're struggling. I was hoping you might be able to help your old family. Amara was quiet for a long moment. I'll send money for food and medicine, she said finally. But I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for the innocent people in the village who are suffering. Thank you, my child. Thank you so much. Don't call me your child, Amara said firmly. I stopped being your child the day you traded me for a debt. I'm helping because it's the right thing to do, not because I owe you anything." After she hung up, Marcus put his arm around her. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," she said. "I'm better than fine. I'm free." Free from what? Free from the need for their approval, their love, their acceptance. I spent so many years trying to earn something that was never mine to earn. Now I know my worth isn't determined by how others treat me, it's determined by how I treat myself and others. Marcus kissed the top of her head. "You're incredible, you know that?" "I'm learning," Amara said with a smile. "Every day I'm learning." On their 5th wedding anniversary, Marcus surprised Amara with a trip back to her village. Not to stay, but to see how far she had come. They drove through the dusty roads in their luxury car, past the fields where she had once worked until her hands bled, past the house where she had been treated like a servant. They stopped at the local school, where Amara had arranged for new textbooks and supplies to be delivered. The children gathered around her, curious about the beautiful woman who had brought them gifts. "Education is the key to everything," she told them. "Never let anyone tell you that you're not worthy of learning, not worthy of dreaming, not worthy of achieving great things." As they prepared to leave, old Mrs. Como, the village elder, approached them. "Amara, child," she said with tears in her eyes, "I owe you an apology. We all do. We saw what was happening to you and we did nothing. We were cowards." "You were scared," Amara said gently. "I understand that now. But I hope you'll be braver for the next child who needs help." "We will," Mrs. Como promised. "Your story has taught us that silence in the face of injustice is its own form of cruelty." As they drove away from the village, Amara looked back one last time. She felt no bitterness, no anger, no regret. She felt only gratitude, gratitude for the journey that had led her to this moment, to this life, to this love. "What are you thinking about?" Marcus asked. "I'm thinking about how everything happens for a reason," Amara said. "If I had been born into a loving family, if I had been treated well, if I had never suffered, I might never have learned to appreciate kindness. I might never have developed the strength to overcome challenges. I might never have met you." Do you really believe that? I believe that our pain, when we choose to learn from it instead of being destroyed by it, becomes our power. My suffering taught me compassion. My rejection taught me the value of acceptance. My poverty taught me the true meaning of wealth. Marcus reached over and took her hand. "And what is the true meaning of wealth?" Amara smiled, looking at their daughter sleeping peacefully in the back seat. "It's not about money, Marcus. It's about having people who love you, respect you, and stand by you. It's about being able to sleep peacefully at night knowing that you've lived with integrity. It's about being able to look at yourself in the mirror and feel proud of who you've become. You've become an amazing woman, Amara Mthembu. And you've become an amazing man, Marcus Mthembu." They drove into the sunset, leaving the past behind and heading toward a future filled with endless possibilities. In the distance, the lights of the city began to twinkle, welcoming them home. Years later, when Hope was old enough to understand, Amara would tell her this story. She would tell her about the importance of never giving up, about the power of love over money, about the strength that comes from surviving hardship with grace. "Remember, my daughter," she would say, "your worth is not determined by where you come from or how others treat you. Your worth is determined by how you choose to treat yourself and others. Always choose love. Always choose kindness. Always choose integrity. And never, ever let anyone convince you that you are not worthy of every good thing life has to offer." And Hope would grow up understanding that true wealth isn't measured in money or possessions, but in the richness of character, the depth of love, and the strength of the human spirit to overcome any obstacle. The village girl who had once been traded like property had become a queen in her own right, not because of her husband's wealth, but because of her own unshakable dignity, her compassionate heart, and her unwavering belief in the power of love to transform even the most broken beginnings into the most beautiful endings. Dear viewers, what lessons touched your heart in this powerful story of transformation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this tale inspired you, give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs to hear that their current situation is not their final destination. Subscribe for more uplifting stories, and remember, your worth is not determined by your circumstances, but by the content of your character. Stay blessed and keep believing in the power of love to overcome all obstacles.